What's up, everybody? Especially to you, my brother Junior. How's it? How's it? How's it? This is Aldi. Welcome back to Talking Story About Smoking. Session 8. Question the questions. Last ses was about hypnotherapy. That was straightforward. Naturally, you will want to dig into it more and will begin to notice that it is all around you. But you will intuitively catch on and start to use it yourself. When I wrap this talking story about smoking sessions, I'll go over where and who has had the most impactful information that was meaningful to me. Okay, question the questions. Carr has some um, compelling questions in the second chapter, the easy method. You ever think about the power of questions? The one with the questions is the one in control. You are on the offense. Flat out statements, yeah, they can have an impact, but questions, they cut deep. Questions, even without your response, can make your head spin. Like, is what you do now for your profession what God designed for you? Some people go through midlife crisis because of that question. Without even answering that question, it challenges you. Some of you have had questions that you were just recently asked that make you go, I never thought about it in that way. There are books out there based upon questions and how for question, like Question Based Selling by Thomas A Freese. He said it is creative art. I heard on a podcast, I'll release his podcast later on the last session, that even if you ask yourself a question that you don't answer, your brain will churn and try to solve it, even when you sleep. Like, why am I so stupid? Your brain will start to answer why. Because my mom dropped me on the ground when I was one baby and when I was 14. I threw in the 14 to make sure you're paying attention. No matter. You listening and reading between the lines and catching a drift. That is the main and most important thing. Understand. The primary motive of this chapter is to frame it around three questions. As he creates his setup to those three questions, he uses reframing with suggestive language, which cause you to break negative anchors. He also creates emotional hooks, like when he said he literally chose smoking over his wife. He uses words that you use to associate smoking, like precious, my precious, like that that guy from Lord of the Rings, you know. And actually, you think about it, he kind of looked like one smoker that smoked a long time, that Smeagol dude. After he got the ring, oh yeah, you know what? That's pretty funny. You give him the ring, he went all toxic, and he looked different after that. Before that, he looked all fresh. I getting off the bandwagon. Let me get back on. And then he uses words that rings a negative connotation, like slave to the weed, like the Hannibal Lecter. In fact, okay, so then he throws in a future pace statement, quote, in fact, you are already a non-smoker, end quote. See, you going to be someone that quit because you plan to read the book and you actively listening to these sessions. You automatically going to quit. So, okay, back to this. Per Carr, quote, all you got to do is let your brain catch up with your body, end quote. And he said, quote, by the end of the book, you'll be a happy non-smoker, end quote. A handful of you will simply naturally quit without even reading the book. Right before the three questions, he does three failed hypotheses that he witnessed in the past. If you remember back in high school in writing a thesis, you need three cons, three pros and three cons. This is it. This is the hard way, which doesn't work. This is the cons. By the way, when he says hard way, I imagine a person who fit a square peg into a round hole and asked him, how you did that? He said, foursome. He never really get him in. He broke the peg and the hole. So, this is the broke way, okay? This is the foursome way. Number one, stopping smoking is not the real problem. Here's the problem. Wanting one is. Basically, you are convinced you need it and can't live without it. Number two, people tell you to just stop because it is killing you. Basically, you are anchored. Remember that term. You might as well call anchored programmed. You are anchored/programmed by the weed that makes you think you're a lost toddler in a mega mall without it. Number three, you think you're sacrificing. You create a, quote, blind, end quote. I really don't know what he meant by creating a blind, but I caught his drift. We're not going to stop smoking for the obvious reasons that we should. Okay, so those are the three cons, the stuff that don't work, the foursome way. Now, on to the raw power of the questions. Here it is. Question number one. What is it doing for me? Number two, do I actually enjoy it? Number three, do I really need to go through life paying through the nose just to stick these things in my mouth and suffocate myself? Then he answers it. But really, I answered them myself. You will have your answers, and I don't want to spoil your answers. I want you to enjoy heartfully answering them. Let's go. Let's say it again. Number one, what is it doing for me? Number two, do I actually enjoy it? Number three, do I really need to go through life paying through the nose just to stick these things in my mouth and suffocate myself? He polishes off the chapter with words that label the true face behind the mask by removing, quote, removing the fallacies and illusions with lame ass rationalizations of why you smoke. Now, he completes the final paragraph with future pacing. You will realize there is nothing to give up, and it is a marvelous and miraculous journey. Once these illusions are identified, you will realize that smoking will begin to lose its luster. It won't be the same anymore. Your desire to have another becomes deaf and silent and will be replaced with something way more addicting and way more powerfully life-changing and purifying, which I'll go over in the last chapter. Okay, this is where I need to stop. You have some brewing in your head and a come to Jesus moment with these questions. Well, we went over only 3 questions, but these was loaded questions. When I said question the questions, what you're really doing is truly facing those questions and submitting to those questions, to your subconscious mind, to your conscious mind. Anyway, let these questions stew and make magic. The next session is session 9. Are you up for the challenge? Cost of smoking, you addict. Okay, that's session 9. By now, you can tell that you are utterly going to munch right through the next one like a spam musubi right after a 2-hour surf session on an empty, glassy day at Leftovers North Shore. So, with that, my brother, this concludes the session. Okay then, ahui ho.